You having a good time today? Great, man. I know it's 4:15. It's time to wrap it up. I will keep my session as small as useful for you guys. So that's the whole objective. Okay, before I start my presentation or some of the slides that I have, the idea is that I was approached by the team and saying that why don't you come and speak at this function, right? This yearly IEEE function. So my idea was that I am not a techie. So I am not a techie. I never went to engineering college like you guys. So I'm a commerce graduate. And I just thought that what would I do, or what kind of insights or value I can add to your time. So I was told to talk about my life, my journey. I haven't achieved a big deal and stuff like that. But here it is, my story I have divided into two parts. One is the time when I was chasing people, normally we do, somebody is doing commerce, the rest of the gang also follows it. It's called the herd mentality, right? So I'm my 1.0 of my life is like a herd mentality. I kept on doing things just because somebody was doing or something was really jazzy. So that's what my first part of my life is. And then part two of my life, which is right now, where I am trying to live and trying to make sense of my living, right? Are you guys with me, or I've got bored? And if you have any questions at any point of time, please ask me, or don't feel shy. Just open up and ask me questions. And at any point, if you think that I'm not making any sense and I'm boring you, just tell me, I'll stop my session, okay? Okay, I am not here for the next 40-45 minutes to give you gyan or lecture to do what is right or what is wrong in your life. You guys are obviously grown up, sensible enough to take your choices and call. My whole purpose to come here and stand and talk to you is to talk about my learnings, my mistakes, and my lessons from my life. And I'm not saying please take those lessons and implement in your life. Pick them if you find value. Right? I always believe that you should do your own stuff. Make your mistakes, make your things, and be proud of it. Right? The problem is that we always try to follow that herd, which I did. I'll come to that point. As I told, I'm Prasant Naidu. I'm a 37-year-old entrepreneur. I'm running a startup called Lighthouse Insights for the last 5 years. I'll talk about my startup when it comes into my slide. What do? I manage Lighthouse Insights. Lighthouse Insights is an online publishing a platform which talks about Indian digital marketing stories. I also love cooking, so I enjoyed the biryani in the afternoon. Thank you very much. I read magazines, keep an eye on politics, because I'm a Naidu, but I'm born bottom in Calcutta, right? So politics and football, anyways, is there in the DNA, right? So that's how it is. The politics is in me. And I love movie and music. I'm a big Bollywood fan, so that's all about me. Do you know this proverb? Or do you know this quote? Have you come across this quote before? Anyone? It's interesting. The first line, it says that it's the day when we are born, right? We all know our birthdays, right? The second line, it took me 32 years to understand that line, that why. So you guys know this person called Steve Satya Nadella, right? Microsoft, right? So when Satya Nadella became the head of Microsoft, in one of the interviews, he was asked, do you have a story to share? So he said that 20 years ago, he was working in a server division in Microsoft, and his boss asked him, so Satya, what are you working on? So he said that, blah, 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 I'm working on a server, stuff like that, and said, the manager asked him another question, Satya, what are you working on? That's the day when he goes back at his room and just thinks about what is he actually doing in life. And from that day, there has been no looking back, because there's always a purpose, there's always an objective, right? Every person in this planet, which I believe, is born for a purpose and an objective. Some people figure out that objective, very fast in the life, and some people are like idiots like me who took 32 years to understand what am I good at, right? You know, as youngsters, because I was also in college, and you guys also feel the same thing, like every time this thing is going in your head, right? You know, what am I supposed to do? What should I do? What is this big thing that I can do in my life, right? Apart from your studies and exams, I hope so that that thing is going in your mind. There's no shortcut answer to find out that why. You keep on doing, and you do mistakes, you learn from them, and one day you'll understand that why purpose, right? Okay, am I rushing too fast, making sense, going slow, right? So just speak up if I'm rushing fast. So that's life 1.0. This part of the life I call following the herd. Herd is basically when you follow the entire sheep mentality, right? Everyone in my society is doing engineering, so I should do engineering. You know, interesting, like my mother never told me that you should do engineering, but because she knew that I cannot solve maths problem properly, so in Hindi it is like, okay, tumse nahi ho payega, right? It's like you cannot crack, you cannot do it. My brother is an engineer, right? But then, did my brother ever have a choice to, consult to my parents, or ask my parents, is engineering my right choice? Or should I do engineering, or should I do something else? Because the problem is that asking questions, asking that why, is killed in a very young age in our society, right? Suppose when you grow up, when you're studying, you ask some questions, you are told that, okay, don't ask why, it is how it is, read it. And that's how we keep on building, mugging up things, that mugging philosophy or that whole behavior is so much ingrained in ourselves that it goes from education to when we work. I'll come to this point why I'm talking about this. So that's what, this is part of my life, it's called following the herd. I was born in Haldia, 300 kilometers from Calcutta, middle class family. Very soon my parents knew that if we can pass 12th exam boards also, it's good for us. All our hopes is with our younger brother who is an engineer, right? And right, this is a question that kept on I was always a backbencher. The reason why I was a backbencher because I wanted to face teachers to answer their questions, as simple as that, right? All my life I've been a backbencher, all my life I'm struggling to understand why I'm doing certain things. Why am I reading this thing? Why am I mugging up theorems? Why am I learning this, whatever theorem or a biology, whatever you can fit, right? So and there's another question that kept on hitting my head. What is that I'm good at? There is something that I can be good at, right? I am following everybody. So if somebody is in somewhere the teacher is good, my mother comes and says, okay, you should go to that tuition, you'll get good marks. The problem is that we do everything in our life for marks. Right? Do you agree to that or not? Are we not studying just for marks? Right? Good marks, good job, good education, good married life, good kids. I don't know after that what. You die. Right? Have we sat down and ever asked ourselves, what is beyond that marks? Right? What is that I actually want to do? And it's not just for a boy or a girl, right? I believe that everybody is same, right? Here we are sitting not as boy or girl. Here we are sitting as an individual person. Every boy has a dream, every girl has a dream. And everyone has a right to chase his or her dream. You can chase your dream when you start asking that question, why? Believe me. And this why applies everywhere. In your day-to-day work, when you're talking to friends, when you're talking to teachers, when you go to tomorrow to work. Let's say you join a company, or these days there is a fad called startups, right? Everybody wants to start a startup. Right? I'll come to that problem with that startup, but whole mentality, why everybody wants to do a startup. You should do things, or you should do a job or a startup, or learn something because you want to learn it, because you want to get educated from it. Not because you want to get marks, money, education, or good marks or stuff like that. See, money, good marks, all is required. But beyond that, before that, you need to understand why am I doing that. Otherwise, you are just like a herd mentality. Everyone is doing something, just let me follow. Like for instance, I'm sorry to say, but most of the engineers, I've seen a lot of engineering friends, after their engineering, they don't go for a higher education on engineering, a PhD or something like that. You guys must know much more better than me. But they are doing MBA. They said, you you did engineering and then you also don't want to do management. You? Why? And the reason is that, nahi yaar, we'll get a better job. Most of them. Okay. My hardest learning in my life, 1.0, which is 22 years right, before, is respect money and time. I'll give you an example. So I somehow cleared MCA. There's a story behind why I did MCA. I never was interested in doing MCA. I just followed the herd. I went in MCA, finished MCA. I cleared my exams somehow. Made good percentage of marks. I got a job in HSBC as a software developer. In the first year, I was doing testing in the name of software developing. After some time, I realized, okay, this is not my job. I was lucky that there was a manager who actually found my skills and he said, okay, Prasant, why don't you understand the business part and become a business analyst? I became a business analyst and I had this thing in my mind. Every 6 months, I had a goal. Okay, what should I do after 6 months, after 6 months? So that's how I landed up in HSBC UK. So I worked in HSBC UK for 3 years and on-site kind of job. While I was working there, I also wanted to work in a banking world in the UK. For a simple reason why? Because I wanted to wear a three-piece suit. Right? The bankers there wear a suit and go to work. That was my whole objective, why I should get a job in UK. Trust me, that was my objective. I got a job in a company called BlackRock, and I was 6 months. Right? I had a 5-digit figure, I had a good house, I had a good life, and unlike in UK or US, they just take seconds to fire you. There's no process or something like that. So one day you come up, there's a procedure there, you're told that you just pack up your bags and leave. Right? Why was I fired? Interesting story. I have blogged about it. And I was fired because at some point of time, one good thing in me today is that I am not a smart guy, but I'm a hard-working person. Right? I can spend 12 hours, 14 hours on something if I like something. If I don't like, I'll not put 0 second also. Right? That's as simple as that. Right? So when I was working in BlackRock, I started getting into this feeling, boss, I have arrived. I'm God. Right? I have everything. And the project that I was working, I was more or less handling the project, and I thought that the project cannot run if Prasant Naidu does not come to work one day. Right? That's the arrogance that kept on facing in me. But I didn't realize. Right? And that arrogance kept on building and building and building till the time when there was a holiday, long weekend, and I got a, so me and my friend, so I have a brother from another mother, kind of friends with me, we both were in London, we were sleeping, long weekend, the phone rings, I didn't pick up the phone, and I just said, okay, it's okay, I'll miss the phone here, it's Monday, I'll manage it. You understand this line? I have started taking work for granted. Guys, trust me, I'm not here to give any advice, but take one line from here. If you are going to be known for your work, whatever you do in your life, you're going to recognize by and for your work. So please don't take work for granted. Right? Take anything for granted in your life. Take anything. But don't take work for granted, because the day you take it, you actually lose your existence. Right? And that's what happened to me. When I took work for granted, on Monday when I go to that company, my card is not accessible. Right? It's the same company where I came 6 months ago with a lot of dreams, with a lot of stuff, with a lot of things, with a lot of attitude. Right? And the same company, I was not allowed to access my card. Right? And the second thing, the HR calls me, Mr. Prasant Naidu, you need to go to your cabin, or your desk, whatever you need to collect, you have 5 minutes, collect and leave the premises as fast as you can. Right? So, and that's the day when I realized that I didn't respect these two things, respect money and respect time. I obviously felt bad. It took me 5 or 6 years to overcome nightmares. I'm not joking, and I'm not trying to create a kind of a thing. It took me 5 to 6 years to come from that nightmare that I've been thrown out from a company where I was awarded the best employees 3 months ago. Right? And that nightmare actually built on me, and I was so scared that wherever I went to work after that, I always had the fear, what if they throw me out? Right? Anyways, that's a good part, that I was not from BlackRock, otherwise I would have never realized what's wrong in me. There's an interesting line by a person called Steve Jobs. I hope you guys know him. Right? He has this interesting YouTube video where he talks about, at a point, you can connect, you sit back and you connect the dots. I've not arrived to at this stage, obviously not. But there are some dots that I also connect when I go back. So, Life 2.0, this is a part of my life where I decide that I'm not going to follow the herd. Where I decide that I'm going to do stuff that I believe in. Whether I make money, whether I don't make money, whether I make people happy, I don't care. What I want to do in my life is that I want to make, what do you call it? There has to be an objective. I need to make sense of what am I doing. Are you guys with me till now? Okay? Am I boring you guys? You have some questions? Please feel free to ask me questions. I know this is a very lame kind of a question that, be comfortable, talk to me, ask questions, because you just know me for just, not less than half an hour. So, hey, how can you be comfortable asking questions? But yeah, if you have something, you just speak up. So this is a part of my life which is called not following the herd. I'll come to building lighthouse insights. So, what happened was in 2010, I was working in Oracle, I found a job. I was underutilized in Oracle. And on a personal level, I used to review apps, write guest posts and stuff like that. And that was the time when I actually came across social media, 2010. So I decided that what is this thing? Let me just read about it, find about it. And after reading for 2-3 months, met some people, talked to some experts. What I found is that there are a lot of things. So there are things that's happening here, and there are things that are being skipped. But there is no platform which is actually about what is the right or the wrong thing that is happening. So basically, nobody is questioning what is happening, right? So I decided that why don't I start a platform, a blog. That was a blog. That time I started with a Google Blogspot kind of a thing, and a blog with a domain. That time I didn't have a domain also. So the idea was that, can I write about it? The question came, what powers do I have, or how much do I understand about marketing or digital, right? I had one simple thing, right? I'm a consumer. All the ads, all the creators, all the products, all the marketing stuff are for us, for people like us, end consumer. If I am not able to understand your product or your marketing communication or whatever it is, that product or marketing communication is basically zero. If it is not able to satisfy or make a consumer tell what is trying to tell, right? And I started Lighthouse Insights with my wife, Vinaya. She's a better blogger than me. And we started this platform with a simple objective that original content can survive and can make money, right? Does anyone know what is original content here? I just add some kind of. So what's original content? Okay. Original content is something which is. So there are two kinds of content. One is like synced and copied content or synced content. So whenever there's a press release, you find a lot of. So suppose I'll give an example. Name a company which you like. Anyone? Any company that you like? Google, right? So Google comes up with some ad platform, which is the news, right? Now there will be 15 or 20 tech sites that will talk about that Google has come up with certain products, right? The news will be same, right? It's a press release which is actually being copied or taken and created everywhere. Do you find any difference? I don't think so, right? So that's more or less a synced content, right? That kind of a thing, copied content, stuff like that. But what could be the original content? The original content could be a platform where you see where a blogger or a writer has interviewed a Google guy to understand what does this product mean, number one. Number two, there could be a story, publisher or a platform has gone to 4 or 5 experts in the country and asked what they think about that content, what they think about that Google product and what is their opinion. So this is original content, right? You see magazines? One of my favorite magazines is Caravan. There is Newsweek, there is Open Magazine, there is Outlook. So these kind, most of them, they are the politics magazine, right? So these are the best example for original content. Any content that is being produced by a person which has taken a lot of efforts and has a lot of insights and inputs, they're basically original content, right? So that's what the whole idea why we started Lighthouse Insights, to write original content in terms of digital marketing, stuff like that. So, my hardest learning, so I have run Lighthouse Insights for the last 5 years. It's not a very big platform or a big funded company or stuff like that. But we are trying to do what we believe in. We are trying to create a sense. We are known in the industry, the people who read us. We are not into the breaking news side. We are more into the insights-driven side. But running a startup, these are the things that I've learned. I'll talk about one after the other. So creating value. For instance, if you read something, for instance, if you're reading an engineering book or whatever, to educate yourself, if that book or that blog or that article is not creating value or not giving insights or input for your time, I think that's waste of your time. Isn't it? True or false? Right? It should add value. For instance, so that's one. Stick to your belief. This is the most hardest and the toughest choice that anyone and everyone goes through. Right? If you believe in something, there will be 10 different kind of people who will try to make sure that your belief is wrong. They're all there to make you say, okay, what you're believing in or what you're doing it doesn't make much sense, you should do this thing. Right? There is no better judge than yourself for you. Right? So there is an interesting thought that was told to me by a founder, Prasant. There are 2 kinds of thoughts in the world. One, what you think about yourself, and 2, what the world thinks about yourself. Tell me, what should matter to you? Louder? What do you think about yourself, right? So keep that in mind, right? Nobody knows you better than anyone. Not even your parents, brothers, friends, anyone. You know yourself the best. So what you think about yourself is the ultimate thing, right? I'm not telling that you should listen to people. Listen to people. But make sure, whatever choices that you make in your life, it should be done by you. Good or bad. Listen, see, any choice in your life is not good or bad. If I do something, I might think that this is good for me. If you do something, that might be good for you. So nobody can define that this is a good choice or that is a bad choice. It's a choice that defines a person. It's who you define yourself when you take a choice. Right? For you, you have to decide, is this good for me or this doesn't add value to my life? Okay, how many people are here trying to become entrepreneurs, want to do something in startup? Just raise your hand, it's okay. Even if you don't have an idea, I just want to know that kind of a thing, right? I'll come to that part, focus on revenues. There is a slide where I just speak about that. I'll come to that. Okay. I will come to this slide when I talk about entrepreneur because this is more related to entrepreneur. So, how many people believe this slide? Right? So there is my friend Vijay. Vijay, why do you believe that this is overhyped?
Probably somewhere down the line when the hype came, the value was lost.
Sorry?
When the hype came, the value was lost.
Right. See, trust me guys, your generation actually makes me really jealous. Why? Because you have that 5-inch thing with you always. The mobile. Right? Anyone, you ask somebody, can I take your laptop? They will give you a laptop. Will you give your mobile to your best friend also? Right? You get up with that. and you go to bed with that. Right? So my point is that today's generation or people like you today are so much open with digital, mobile. You get to know a lot of things on the internet. I have no problems if you want to do startup and entrepreneurship, and I should not be having any problem, first of all, right? My only concern is that when you start a startup or an entrepreneurship or whatever, a dream, do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because somebody else is doing, one of my friends is doing and he's making money or he's got funded, right? It's not about that. Anybody does not start a company to make money. Right? There are people who start companies to make money. I never started Lighthouse in search to make money. If I had to make money, I was making good money when I was working. Right? It was my call. This was my choice. And this is another thing. If you are doing a startup, if you are doing an entrepreneurship, you are not, for God's sake, doing any good thing to the world. Right? So I have a big problem with all those entrepreneurs who actually say that hashtag working on a weekend life of an entrepreneur. First, nobody had come to you and requested you become an entrepreneur and make the world better. It's your selfish choice. It's my selfish choice to become an entrepreneur. Right? Because I want to do something in my life. I want to add value to my life and I want to add meaning to my life. So my request to you is that, yes, it's good. Today in the digital age, you get so much of knowledge, you get so much of content. Take those knowledge, take those content, use social media. Right? But do things, try things, make mistakes, but don't do it just because for the heck of doing it. Don't do it just because somebody else is doing it. Don't do it just because you are reading a lot of articles on your story, how they are getting funded and becoming great entrepreneurs. Right? An entrepreneur is also a guy who is selling vegetables in the market. Right? An entrepreneur is also that guy who is doing something with an Uber cab. Just because it's not a fancy kind of a job title or a founder or a CEO, right, does not make that he's an entrepreneur. I'll give you an example. So there is a guy in my society, every summer season, so he comes with that, we call, I don't know what you call, guy. So the ice thing, you put kind of flavors and add it. So in the summers he brings this gola lorry, kind of, in the monsoons, rice, is no more required, right? What he does is that he starts selling corn. So he burns it and puts some spices and starts selling for 20 bucks, right? And in the winters, what he does is that he starts selling pineapple and pineapple juice. So he is a seasonal entrepreneur. But he is also doing something, right? He's adding value to it. Maybe he's not a fancy, maybe he does not have a card to tell that I'm the founder or a CEO of this company. But he's also an entrepreneur. He's also making his life. There is a lot of struggle. There is a lot of pain. So do things because you believe it. Don't do things just because of the jazz and the stuff there. Try to filter out things. Life will be more easy for you. And that's why I come to this thing. Not everyone is an entrepreneur. A very simple thing I learned the hard way. The biggest problem with entrepreneurs is that they think that the entire world should work like an entrepreneur. If tomorrow you become an entrepreneur, you would want that all my employees should work like 24/7, like a maniac like you I am. Doesn't work. Everybody has a life, right? So that's one of the learnings. If you tomorrow become an entrepreneur, start, you will go through this phase. And trust me, you will also learn that not everyone is an entrepreneur. Everyone has a life. You need to give that kind of a freedom. You can't do 10 things. This is the biggest problem that I have in my life. I think that I can do 10 things. I have 10 ideas by the time I have just done 4 3 things. I think the guy is done. Okay? Okay. Fine. You guys with me? So the point what I'm trying to tell is that it does not need to be an entrepreneur also. Right? Today as a student or you're working or whatever you're doing, out of 10 things you can just do 2 or 3 things. Humanly, it's possible only to do 2 or 3 things. Just focus on those 2 or 3 things. Don't have to do 10 things and become like nothing. Focus on 2 or 3 things, master those things, and you will be better in life. Right? Accepting limitations. As an entrepreneur, I have learned this in the hard way. There are limitations, and you have to accept. The challenge, the interesting part becomes when you take those limitations and make it your positive points. Right? And last but not the least, take a break because that's required. Have you heard this quote? Right? You heard it? What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. You know, the first time when I actually came to this quote, and trust me, I'm not come here to make you philosophical people or giving a lot of peanuts on quotes or something, but this is the interesting thing. The last line, what you imagine, you create. Last year, during this time, or the time of December and November, I was about to close my startup because I was not able to make money. I was going through frustration problems in my family life because I was giving 100% to lighthouse and sites, and I was not able to make revenues also. And that was the time I was struggling. And this is the time when actually I read this. What you imagine, you create. That's the time when I actually sat down and I just took a pen and paper and I just said that, what are the things that I can do in my startup? What are the things that I can do to save my startup, right? Without taking money, just make new revenue stream. So I listed down all the things. What are the best ways possible? What are the bad ways possible to make revenues? And I got one of the best ways, sustainable ways that right now we are doing to make revenues while I did this exercise. I had no confidence in me that I can do it, right? This is the time when I actually read this line. Trust me guys, after 2 months we executed that idea, and today I'm standing before you and talking to you. And that idea was executed. And so, that works. If you imagine, if you have the belief, the confidence in you, you can actually do it, right? Interesting. Use social media. Who is not present on Facebook? How many people are using Snapchat? How many people are using Twitter? I have an interesting example for Twitter and social media. You see that gentleman there? Right? So, 4 years ago, I didn't do this thing, Vijay's fault. 4 years ago, I was starting my startup. I was more or less recently active on Twitter. He being the smart guy, he spoke to me on Twitter, and I actually had shared that I am coming to some event in Bangalore, and there he was also coming. So I met him that day, like in that event, via Twitter. So I don't know him before that, so I met him via Twitter. Over the years, we have kept in touch. So I know what he's doing, he knows what I'm doing. So what I'm trying to tell is that, you know, there are the good parts of social media, from knowledge, consuming content, education, there are a lot of things. And there's fun part. I'm not telling that don't cut out or don't lose out your fun part. Do your fun part. There's no harm in that. There's one thing that you also remember, that excessive use of social media also can lead you to a lot of trouble. Right? I don't have a problem, you have an opinion. Everyone should, in this room or in this country, should have an opinion. Right? As a citizen, as an individual, you should have an opinion. You should be expressive. Right? Just one thing. Before expressing that opinion, ask yourself, do you really need to do that? If the answer is yes, go do it. If the answer is no, don't do it. Because there are so many incidents, you just type on Google about, there's so many incidents how people have lost jobs because of social media. So one very recent example, I was talking to Vijay. Vijay was telling that he was recruiting some person, right? So that person did land up, say that certain XY, family member is sick and I cannot come to your interview. That evening, he found out that that person was actually watching a match somewhere sitting. How does he know? Because that person has gone on social network and say, hey, I'm watching a game here, hippie, and that's all. The girl was not taken. There's so many incidents where people have gone out, blasted themselves, not like you guys, politicians also. Big politicians, celebrities, you name it, right? There's an interesting example of Suresh Khan, where the nephew actually came onto Twitter and tweeted for him. I don't know how the nephew started using his Twitter, but there are so many examples. I'm not going to go on each example and tell you what is right and what is good for you. I know what is right and good for you guys because you're sensible people. Just make sure that you know what you're doing. You guys have read that? And you know the meaning, right? Thank you very much, guys. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you very much. And now we have any questions related to my work, my startup, or you don't agree to something which I said, you can talk to me right here, or I am available on Twitter if you're there at @Prasant Naidu. If you're not comfortable in talking to me on Twitter, take my card. I have my email ID in this card. Drop me an email. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much once again. Yeah, please. Yep. Oh. Take.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. My name is Srila Srinivasan. I am a final year BTech student and I do freelance content writing on my spare time. So I'd like to go into publishing somewhere in the near future. But then I don't know, I'm not sure about what all prospects publishing has in like the coming time. Because I see a lot of digital content nowadays. Digital content in the sense, articles and blogs I am familiar with. And I'm also a Kindle user for the Kindle ebook reader user for the past 7 months. So I see a lot of difference when I read books from Kindle and when I have an actual paperback in my hand. So if I go into publishing, I'd like to do like paperbacks rather than Kindle editions because I like the feel of the paper. So I'm kind of confused. Like, go into publishing? Yes, but then is there a market out there for that?
If there is no market, create that market. Right? Okay. So, interesting that you want to get into publishing. You write, forget going into publishing. Do you have a blog?
I don't do blogs, but then I do content writing for
Okay, that's great. So you are in the right place. Right? Now, coming to your point that Kindle and paperback, I buy your thought of reading books. I still read books. I have a lot of magazines. And I love that feel of reading books there. But now that I also read it from pocket whenever I have to read it. So, yes, there is a lot of opportunity in publishing. With digital coming in place, there's a lot of opportunity in publishing. It is not about publishing. As an individual, you will know or understand a field, whether it is education or non-education, whatever, from your course or not. When you start reading it and when you start writing about it, right? Because the moment when you're reading something, you're actually reading it like the way you were reading it, right? But when you start writing or presenting someone to some audience like this, a small audience, you will have 10 questions and the audience will have 5 questions, right? That's the time when your knowledge about that thing becomes more and more deeper, right? So to answer your question, yes, there is opportunity. You should. Hello. And internet is way to find out all kinds of opportunities that you want. So one opportunities that you can do is that join a digital firm or a content marketing firm, right? And maybe tomorrow you can start writing a book because you're already writing blogs and articles, right? If you have fancy doing that, you can do it. You can publish ebooks in Amazon. That's also their opportunity. And you can also follow a lot of authors on social media, what they're trying to do, read their blogs, kind of content. And I think, see, nobody gets to something at one day. It's the constant process, day and night, you keep on doing it. Like, interesting example, how many people follow cricket here? Right? So, I'm a big fan of Saurabh Ganguly, but I also love Rahul Dravid. For the simple reason that, about this consistency. Right? What is the difference between a successful person and unsuccessful person? For a guy, is a successful person actually gets up every day and keeps on doing the same thing day after day after day. Right? The US biggest swimmer, Philip, he actually practiced for Olympics for 5 years. Because 5 years, every single day, without any break. No athlete in the world has ever done that. And how do you know, like how many gold medals he's won? Anyone? Any more questions?
Thank you, sir.
Yes? Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yep.
I'm Meera. I'm from Prasant Naidu Engineering College. There was an interesting quote in the beginning of your presentation. That was the two most important days in your life: the day when you were born and the day you find out why you were born.
Right.
But in majority of the cases, not all people are fortunate enough to find out, to discover why they were born early on in their life. That is when they have the energy and the time to implement the things for which they were born. So to those people who are still trying to figure out why they were born, do you have any message for them? Anything?
See, there is no age for learning and trying things. Right? I have a friend, and I have loads of respect to all those entrepreneurs or startups or businessmen who are actually doing a startup with a family. Family means they also have kids. When you have kids, there's so many responsibilities, right? And it's a horrible, horrible nightmare job, right? So I have a friend who is 45-year-old, got 2 kids, and he was working in US in a very good firm, and he's left everything, and he's chasing education kind of a app or a Google instrument. And he inspires me a lot, right? I understand, at my age, 37, I have very less responsibilities like that guy has, my friend has, and it gives me a lot of confidence, right? So, and at the same time, there are guys like you who are 21, 22, 23-year-old or 25-year-old, and they are not going and chasing the regular jobs. They are trying to do something which they believe in. So, if you have a dream and you still think that that adds value in your life, and you think that, okay, I need to do it, don't wait for it, right? See, if you convince yourself that I'm going to do it, everything will fall in place. The start what it matters. And after that you have to hold it. The holding time is going to be challenging, and that's where you actually define it. Most of the startups so we completed 5 years, and I said it's not a big deal. There's a big founder whom I know. He said, Prasant, the first 5 years is what it matters. You have survived the dream. 5 years you have held that dream and made a meaning to it. Now it is just taking it further. Right? So that's all I can say. Right? I don't know if I added value to your question or to your thoughts, but my point, and I believe in, that if you have a dream, the age does not matter. The time does not matter. What matters is that, see, I took 22 years to understand what I'm good at. And today also, I don't know that what am I doing is the best in the world, or I'm not becoming other Facebook or something like that. I'm just trying to do what I believe in. And I'm also making money out of it. And I'm happy with it. Right? Today I am at a zone or at a level where I'm at content, whatever I'm doing. Right? And that's why I'm standing here and talking to you. Right? Otherwise, on a Saturday I'll be busy working and trying to figure out what should I do and stuff like that. I'm very much happy. I know what I'm doing. I know that the world will not crash if I don't work for a day or two. Things will be going okay, change. That's all.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Have a question? Okay. Anyone? Okay. So I bored you a lot. Thank you very much. Before I leave, just one simple line to tell you. Don't do things for money. Do things for yourself. Money will follow you. Thank you.